Did you ever stay in a relationship because you were in love with the potential you believed it had? Or did you ever believe lies because you didn't have the guts to leave, or maybe you lied because you didn't want to lose them, but you knew it wasn't right? We all do it, and we all struggle when it ends. Welcome back to Chasing Stability, the podcast for the in-between seasons, the unraveling, and the rebuilding. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and today's episode, we're diving into what it feels like to live in an on-off situationship, if you will, and how it can affect you long after all the drama ends. We all have that one quote unquote relationship that lasted way too many years with way too many goodbyes that never really stuck and way too much betrayal to have ever worked out, even if you would have been able to pull it together without the drama. So let's talk about the relationship, if you can call it that. Honestly, I don't now looking back on it, but then I did, that I kept going back to for 8 crazy long years. The love that I swore was once in a lifetime. And every time we got back together, I convinced myself that this time it'd be different. He was the one that left me questioning everything, but most importantly, questioning myself. So, why do we keep going back to people we know we can't build with or grow with or even see an actual true future with? Let's get into it. When we met, we were kids, 17 years old to be exact. You know how people say if it's real love, it'll be like easy, like Sunday morning and all that fun stuff. Well, this definitely wasn't that. It was dramatic from the very beginning. He was graduating and I was a junior. He had 7 months until he left for college when we met. And in those 7 months, we created a foundation that no one knew about. We both had been hurt before, and we had no interest in letting the small town gossip reel into the mix, nor did we just want people to know, I think. People had their suspicions, I'm sure, but no one truly knew how together we really were back then, I don't think. Looking back now, those 7 months were probably the best of the 8 years. And I truly believe it's what both of us tried to fight to get back to, but could never succeed. One, because the love was young and wild and free and didn't have responsibilities. So, of course, as the older you get, the more you want that kind of love back. But 2, we never succeeded because we were never able to not look past who we saw in each other after all of the drama. There were nights that became the best stories to tell and inside jokes that died when we did. When he packed up to leave and walked out of my life for college, that should have been when it ended. It should have been when I never called back and vice versa. But hindsight is always 2020. So life continued on. We dated other people, still stayed in contact. For me, back then, I always thought it was going to be him in those early years. The way I was able to just forget about anyone else when he was around or when he made himself available to me, I thought that was an important connection back then. He felt like home. He felt stable. He felt like comfort. Not every love that feels like home is good for you. Some homes are built on unstable ground. And I stayed convincing myself that our foundation would eventually hold. And I had to learn the hard way that if a foundation isn't built solid from the beginning, it's only going to get worse. Once we were both in college, the dynamic changed again. We were more in the quote unquote adult era, you know? We went to different schools. We had different lives. We always did, really. Even when we were at high school together, we lived very different lives. But our life together was always ours, and it was private and it was secret. The problem with this might be clear for some, but back then, all I saw was green flags. However, what I should have been seeing was that I was always the secret to be kept. Distance didn't challenge us because we always let each other live the life that we needed to. But the first and last time I ever went down to visit him at his school, that was when I believe things changed for me mentally. I think it became more real. But unfortunately, I was not matched on that realization. The following semester, he transferred back to our state's common university with me. And this is when the relationship completely exploded. We loved each other. Let me just get that out of the way. But neither of us, him nor me, wanted to see the other with someone else. But we never wanted to just be together. God, I hope someone else listening to this understands that logic. We wanted to be wild. We wanted to have our college fun, and we didn't want to miss out on that. So because of that, we hurt each other a lot. And those little surface cuts, they added up. And the surface cuts got bigger, and then they turned into betrayal, hooking up with people the other one loved or hated, doing stuff out of spite to hurt one another because we knew the other would hear. The relationship turned extremely toxic. And that's honestly a nice way to put it. The high highs into the soul crushing lows. When we finally actually called it dating at the end of college, he cheated. I knew. He lied. I acted like I didn't care and moved on with my life. Every time it ended, though, we came back. Like we couldn't breathe without each other. And for a while, it felt like real love. But let me tell you what this really was. We were soul trauma bonded. We had created this roller coaster connection to these highs and these lows. And that was what kept us coming back, not love, the addiction to the familiar and the drama and the need for that extreme high, like we were adrenaline junkies. We knew how to hurt each other, and we did. We knew how to make up, and we did. We knew how to hit repeat, and we did. And we'd block out all the negative every time we started again. It was honestly impressive, the amount of betrayal that we would just glaze over. There's this strange safety in dysfunction when it's the only thing you've ever known deeply. And we see this in all kinds of dysfunctional relationships. This is just my version. So for me, it was the easiest thing to step back in every time. It felt like stepping back into my comfort zone. And that's exactly what I did when I was out of college and we were both working and an hour apart from each other. We just stepped right back in. I need to state here that this time around, I do truly believe he had his feet on the ground and he was ready to be the kind of person that really was in a relationship. But unfortunately for me, that was not the case in my situation. The trauma and the hurt had seeped into me so deep that there was never going to be a time that I didn't feel it or see it. Now, no one wanted us to be together, and for damn clear reasons looking back, but I always defended us. Talking about how he got me and no one else knows our history and he knows me better than anybody. We've been through too much to just like throw it all away. All the typical things that you say to your friends when you know that you shouldn't be going back. But the reality we were living was chaotic at best. Anytime I was there, I never believed I was the only one. I always thought he was lying. I thought there were thousands of other girls. Maybe there were, maybe there weren't. The truth of the matter is, I was never going to buy into the idea that he wasn't lying to me. And that was clear for both of us. So it ended again. That time it was a little harder. I think that one more so broke a piece of both of our heart because we really thought that maybe it was going to be easier that time and maybe things would actually have changed, but they didn't. The next time around, we hadn't talked in 7 months. The most we had ever not talked in all of those 8 years. When he reached out to me on my birthday, we continued to talk after that in very slow and subtle ways. It wasn't like it was before. We didn't just jump back into each other. It was more of just like tiptoeing in. But 2 months after that first interaction, that was when I got sick. And when I had to come home, he was there. I told myself that we were soulmates who just needed better timing. And maybe this time it was it. It took 2 months for the anxiety to creep back in around the situation and strangle me from the inside out. I was sicker than sick could be, but when he was there, I hid it. I wanted to be me, and I was scared if I was too needy, even then, that he would leave. Then I did something that I've never, ever done again. And I tell people all the time to not do it because when you do this, trust me, you're always going to find something because you're looking for it. So if you haven't figured it out yet, I went through his phone. And when I tell you my heart broke that day like it had never broken before, believe me when I tell you that that was the day that I really learned that love for someone might not be enough to have a relationship with them forever. Now, as a 34-year-old woman who has way more understanding and clarification around this day, what I found could truly have been nothing. I'm mature enough to admit that now. But then I was not. I couldn't see outside of my ideas of what I thought, and I accused him of lying. And what do you think happened? He left. As I chased him out the door, begging him not to leave, because I felt it that time. And I saw it in his eyes. And I knew in my heart I was never going to see him again. We were never going to talk. It was never going to be the same. And this was the last day. And I was right. And that silence that came from him when I was that sick hit harder than anyone else's silence, and hit harder than any breakup that I've ever been through still to this day. Okay, so now let's talk about something that most of you aren't going to want to hear, especially if you're going through this situation right now, or you're at the end of it and you can hear your life coming through the speakers, or maybe you're just daydreaming back like I am. What he did was the best thing that ever happened to me, and honestly, probably him. He ended the cycle that both of us had been dying slowly, trying to cling onto. This night in my life is still one of the hardest nights I've ever had, and I still struggle with knowing how it went down and how it ended. Not that it ended, but how it ended. But I'm emotionally developed enough now to know that it hurt him too, to end it that way, to walk out the door, to go no contact, to block me on every single thing and step out of my life and never talk to me again. To end it that way when I was in the situation I was in, I know it had to be hard. But looking at it from the other side, there's never a good time to end a relationship. Never. It's always going to hurt. There's always going to be some reason not to. We both knew it was never going to work. Ever. We tried a million times. And I am so thankful that on this night, he walked out and did what I could have never done. He closed the door and he didn't look back. He's never going to hear this. The chances are like slim to none. But because he did that, we are both better people for it. It hurt. Don't get me wrong. And I think it probably took me much longer to heal from what I experienced back then and what I saw as betrayal. And that's okay. The part that's important is that someone broke the cycle. For years, we made excuses for ourselves. For years, we rode that crazy ass roller coaster, and I wouldn't change it for the world. There were some extremely great moments, and I cherish them, but there was never anything strong enough to build a future on. So why did we stay when both of us knew that? Is it because we believe history means stability? Or because we confuse longevity with compatibility? Or is it because we're scared no one else will love us? I can't speak for him, but for me, I stayed because I believed in the potential of it all. Who he could be, who I could be, what we could have, what life could have been, blah, blah, blah. But we would have never achieved it because we were stuck in that loop of hurting each other and hurting ourselves every time we went back. The loop was continuous and it was never going to get broken. And that's an extremely hard truth for me to admit, because back then I truly believed that we were eventually going to figure it out. So hard truth number 2, real love is never going to be loud chaos and long stories. It's consistent. It's safe. It's peaceful. Not confusion on where you stand. Not a secret to be kept. That relationship cost me my peace for years. It cost me nights of sleep, my self-esteem, and pieces of my future I'll never get back. But the biggest thing it cost me was time. I spent years trying to force stability in a space that was never built to hold it. 8 years is a long time. Too long to waste, maybe, but not too long to learn from. He taught me what I didn't want, what I can never settle for again, and what it actually means to choose someone not out of habit, but out of alignment. The relationship also taught me how to let go. It taught me that no one made me me. I did that all on my own. I would never erase our time because without it, I wouldn't have learned to be who I needed to be for me. And that's funny how that works out, because in that relationship, I was never me. It didn't feel like. And he was never himself with me either. So if you're listening to this and your story sounds even a little bit familiar, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're just someone who loves hard and didn't want to give up on a love that you thought was real. But I want you to ask yourself, if you're still in this situation or something similar, are you staying because it's love or because it's familiar? Because love isn't supposed to hurt more than it heals. And you deserve more than being someone's cycle. You deserve to be someone's choice. You can love someone and still walk away. You can honor the story and the memory and the them or us that you were with them and still close the book. Let the chaos go. Let the history rest. God doesn't ask us to stay where we are shrinking. Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing you. And maybe the breakup that finally sticks, maybe that's the beginning of becoming who you are meant to be. So 8 years. It was chaos, comfort, love, damage, real, but it wasn't right. Now I'm healing. Now I'm chasing stability. And I hope you're all right there beside me. Thank you for holding space with me today. If you liked the episode, or maybe you've lived the version yourself, DM me. Let's talk about it. Let's keep growing upward from it. Please share if you know someone who needs to feel seen in the same situation. Tune back in next Tuesday to check out the next episode. Until then, make sure you subscribe to get updates in case I drop any episodes early. And go follow along on Instagram and TikTok if you don't already do that. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Keep believing in the unbelievable.